Myths have shaped human culture for centuries, blending fact, fiction, and folklore into stories that captivate the imagination. Some myths are so ingrained in our collective consciousness that it's hard to tell where reality ends and legend begins. But what lies behind the myths that continue to fascinate us? Today, we'll dive into 5 myths that have mystified historians for generations. Each myth has its own origin story, its own lessons, and a deeper truth waiting to be uncovered. From the dangerous allure of the Sirens to the strange tales of the Trojan War, let's explore these age-old stories and examine whether there's any truth to them, or if they are just remnants of a forgotten time. Number 5. The Trojan War, fact or fiction? The Trojan War, the legendary conflict fought between the Greeks and Trojans, has been passed down for centuries through Homer's Iliad. It is a story filled with heroes, gods, and epic battles, culminating in the Greeks' use of the infamous Trojan horse to infiltrate the city of Troy. But was there ever a war at Troy? While many believe the story to be nothing more than myth, recent archaeological discoveries have shed light on the possibility that the war may have been based on real events. Excavations at the ancient site of Troy, in modern-day Turkey, have uncovered evidence of a large-scale city that was destroyed by fire around 1200 BC, which could correlate with the destruction described in Homer's epic. Some historians suggest that the Trojan War may have been a real conflict between Mycenaean Greece and the city of Troy, although the exact details, such as the involvement of gods and heroes, remain firmly within the realm of myth. Whether it was an exaggerated tale or rooted in historical truth, the story of the Trojan War endures, offering a glimpse into the power of myth and history intertwined. Number 4. The Sirens, mythical creatures of the sea. The Sirens, with their enchanting voices, are perhaps the most iconic mythical creatures of the sea. Described as half woman, half bird, the Sirens lured sailors to their doom with irresistible songs, causing their ships to crash on rocky shores. The most famous version of the myth comes from Homer's Odyssey, where Odysseus must navigate past the Sirens' deadly call. But where did the story of these alluring creatures come from? Some scholars argue that the Sirens were inspired by real dangers at sea. In ancient times, sailors faced treacherous waters, and myths like the Sirens may have been a way to explain the mysterious and often deadly forces of nature. Additionally, some suggest that the Sirens were modeled after dangerous sea creatures, like mermaids or certain species of marine birds, that sailors might have encountered in the Mediterranean. Others believe the Sirens represent the dangers of temptation, symbolizing the risks of abandoning one's goals and getting lost in distractions. In this sense, the myth may be a reflection of the human condition, temptation, desire, and the consequences of giving in. Number 3. The Loch Ness Monster, a creature of legend. No mythical creature has captured the world's imagination quite like the Loch Ness Monster, affectionately known as Nessie. For centuries, people have claimed to spot a large serpent-like creature in the waters of Loch Ness in Scotland. The legend of Nessie has become a staple of Scottish folklore, drawing thousands of tourists to the loch in search of the elusive creature. Despite numerous sightings, photographs, and even sonar scans, no definitive proof of Nessie's existence has ever been found. Some believe that the sightings may be the result of misidentifications, such as logs, large fish, or seals. Others speculate that the myth of Nessie could be based on the existence of an ancient sea creature that survived in the loch, perhaps a species of giant eel or even a prehistoric reptile like a plesiosaur. However, there are theories that the legend of Nessie may have started as a way to explain the strange and unexplainable events that occurred around the loch. In a time when little was known about the mysteries of nature, the Loch Ness Monster may have been a symbol of the unknown, an entity that could embody both fear and wonder. While the mystery of Nessie remains unsolved, it's clear that the Loch Ness Monster has become a symbol of enduring myth, one that thrives in the face of scientific skepticism and remains a beloved piece of Scottish folklore. Number 2. The Fountain of Youth, a timeless quest for immortality. The Fountain of Youth, the legendary spring said to restore youth and grant immortality, has captivated explorers and adventurers for centuries. The most famous story of this myth is tied to the Spanish explorer Ponce de León, who is often said to have sought the Fountain of Youth in Florida during the 16th century. But was Ponce de León really looking for a magical spring? Some historians argue that his true mission was to claim new lands for Spain and find wealth, not to search for a mythical fountain. The idea of the Fountain of Youth, however, may have been inspired by local indigenous legends, where certain springs were believed to have healing properties. It's also possible that the legend was rooted in the human desire to find a way to escape aging and death. People have long sought ways to prolong life or reverse the effects of time, and the story of the Fountain of Youth taps into this deep-seated hope for immortality. In the end, no magical spring has ever been found, but the quest for the Fountain of Youth remains a powerful symbol of humanity's desire to overcome death, and it continues to inspire stories, books, and movies to this day. Number 1. King Arthur, the Once and Future. King Arthur, the legendary ruler of Camelot, with his knights, the Holy Grail, and the sword Excalibur, is one of the most enduring figures in Western mythology. But was King Arthur a real person, or is he simply a product of myth? Historians have long debated the existence of King Arthur. Some believe that the figure of Arthur may have been based on a real leader, possibly a warlord who fought against the Saxons in the 5th or 6th century. The lack of concrete historical evidence, however, has made it difficult to determine whether Arthur was a historical figure or a fictional creation. The Arthurian legends evolved over time, with many of the most well-known stories written centuries after the supposed time of Arthur. The tales were influenced by various historical figures, such as Roman British leaders, and blended with older Celtic myths. This fusion of history, legend, and mythology helped cement Arthur as one of the most iconic figures in Western literature. Whether or not Arthur was real, the legend of King Arthur continues to inspire literature, art, and film. The story embodies ideals of chivalry, honor, and the noble quest for justice, values that transcend time and culture. King Arthur may remain a mystery, but his legacy is undeniable. As we've seen, myths are more than just stories. They are windows into the past, reflections of the hopes, fears, and desires of the people who created them. Some myths, like the Trojan War, may be based on real events, while others, like the Fountain of Youth, offer a glimpse into the human quest for immortality. From the Sirens' call to the search for eternal youth, these myths continue to captivate us because they speak to universal themes that transcend time and culture. Whether they're rooted in historical fact or woven from the threads of imagination, these stories have endured for centuries, and they'll likely continue to inspire future generations. So, what do you think? Are these myths based on truth, or are they just stories that have been passed down through the ages? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this journey through the origins of myths, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more fascinating stories from Cryptic Chronicles Hub. Until next time, remember, sometimes the line between myth and history is thinner than we think.